At Oxford College of Business, we offer world-class business qualifications awarded by some of the best universities in the world. That's because all we do, all we are, is business education.
So I'd like to ask you, just to go back into history a little bit. On the last stage of the war, the Americans were trying to rescue the country and some sort of aliens. Why did the plan not succeed? Who stopped?
No, it was, I don't know whether there was real plan. Then Bob Blake, then the ambassador, he just mentioned this idea that they could evacuate the civilians and they will not allow any Prabhakaran or anybody to escape. But they had to take, so there were certain issues involving that. One was that whether even the Americans tried, whether Prabhakaran would have allowed to escape for the civilian, only to take the civilians out. Otherwise, we also have given many opportunities for the civilians to come out. So that was one problem. Then second one was whether the India would agree for that type of plan. So it was never a non-starter, I should say, that they suggested that, but it didn't work out. Purely, I think, on these issues, they couldn't agree on these issues.
There is something about the casualties. Some of them goes to Delhi and says 150,000 people. And the UN says 1,000.
No, it's see, from the very beginning, we didn't have the access to those areas. No. We got the figures from UN and also from the NGOs. And the general idea was there are about 300,000 civilians. That's the figure given by throughout. And that's the figure used to send food, medicine and everything. So you have to go by that, starting from that figure. And that is not our figures. That's actually the UN and NGOs and also the GAs. They gave those are the figures. So and the casualty figures they quote, I don't know whether it's from the very beginning of the war to the end or only during the last 2 weeks they are referring to. But obviously you have to see now military for the northern operation only, the military had nearly 4,500 deaths and about 20,000 casualties on that period. So one has to think about, if that was the intensity of fighting, that the military with all that firepower, training and all that, got this much of casualties, what would have been the casualties of the other side? I mean, you can't say that there were no casualties from the LTT side. And so whatever the deaths or the casualties from the LTT side, you have to count for that. That also has to include it on this, because there was no way to get an exact amount of casualties of civilians or the terrorists. And as we all know, the LTT always did not fight with uniform, and there are enough videos issued by the LTT itself where you see that they are with civilian clothes. So even from that angle also you can't, how can you say this much of LTT and this much of civilian? It's so difficult. But what we wanted to get a figure on this, and we from the government we requested Census and Statistics Department to do a census on, and they came out with a figure including everybody. That was the whole period. It's about 7,000 or 8,000. I don't know now. I can't exactly remember those figures. And at the same time, UNICEF did a similar survey on that, and that was independent of the government. Even we didn't know that they are doing that. Immediately after the war ended, with the Northern Province Ministry of Census and Statistics, they did a survey on that, and that came out with the same, almost the same figure. And on their report, they mentioned that even at when they reported on missing people, that most of the parents agreed that they joined the LTT, or they were voluntarily or with force, that they have joined the LTT and fought with LTT. So these are actually facts that which are coming from independent sources, and without any factual, the way that you can prove that, they come out with various figures. And how can you come out with like 100,000 or 40,000 when the UN and government agents that confirmed the people who were there only 300,000?
But sir, how come the same UN come up with another report saying that 40,000 missing, 40,000 were killed?
Who?
The UN.
I don't know whether UN had come out with a figure like that. I'm not sure whether they have come out with it. Because the UN can't come out with that figure. The reason being, they had the full opportunity. They are the people who had the full access to these areas. As government, we didn't have the access to any of these areas because it was fully controlled by the LTT. And throughout, the best thing is there are World Food Program office, and they were supplying food. They can easily give these figures. And all the time, even the government agents, the figures they gave was around 300,000.
Of the total number of cities.
Of the total number of people who were there. That's the number that we catered food and other requirements. So you have to go by that, and when you compare with that and the people who came out of the place, you can't come out with these huge figures which cannot be proven. And the other thing is, now what we try to do, getting all the details, whatever available, that was done independently actually from the, it produced a detailed report, the census department, taking all the census from people, their families, from the families, like a normal way they do census in other parts.
Sir, there were some allegations that there was a bypass of army commander during the final days of the war, and the field commanders were given order directly. Can you enlighten me?
No, there is no reason to bypass anything. And actually, when there is no army commander, there's still the command chain of command that CDS, the Chief of Defence Staff, then when the army commander is during his absence, there is the Chief of Staff, and moreover there was the overall commander in that area. That's the General Jagat Jayasuriya, who was commanding from one. So there is no reason to bypass somebody and go to give directions to anybody.
But all of them...
Because it's always the Security Council is there. And when in Security Council, when the commander is not there, he is represented by the Chief of Staff. And in that, all the other commanders are there, CDS is there. There you discuss and take decisions, and that's the decision that go down to the divisional commanders.
Sir, there are a lot of stories about how effective Prabhakaran was for in the end. Is it true that he was underwater bunker, or how effective did you find him?
No, see, whatever the information I get is also from the information from the people who are on ground and who are doing the operation. It was not from a bunker. What I can imagine is when the last assault was going on, some people escaped into this Nandi Kadal area where it's like a marshy area. So there are small islands in like that. So when they were clearing, only they were fired at, and then the confrontation went, and that's how we recovered the body from that lagoon. It's not an underwater bunker or something like that. Because there is no way they could do that, because they were moving from step by step, they were moving into this location.
So according to Karuna, he committed suicide because he shot himself in the head. The kind of injury he had showed that it was suicide with a gun.
I can't. Karuna didn't tell me that. But I must ask him how he came to that conclusion.
And he wasn't wearing a suicide pill, cyanide pill.
Cyanide pill, I don't know whether these higher-ups, whether they were having that cyanide pill at all at any time.
Have you met any of the top-ranking LTT leaders, including Prabhakaran?
No.
They were there?
Except KP, I have not met anybody.
KP before or after conversion?
No. KP, when he came from Malaysia, when he was arrested, and from the airport, he came straight to my house. And, it's very interesting because a lot of people, the impression given on me was I was a murderer. So he thought that we are taking to my house to kill. So he was shivering. But he got surprised when he told me that he was surprised when he entered the house. He saw the Buddhist statue, Lord Buddha's statue in front of my entrance. Then he knew that that can't be this man. And he had a chat for about 2 hours. So in fact, he was surprised. When first he was shivering, and I think he related this story to the media, that how he first came and he thought what he thought of me, and then when I told him give up all these things and join the mainstream and work with us to rehabilitate these people, then that's all. And I handed him over to the intelligence, and I think the intelligence agency did a very good job with him.
So he wanted to meet you, or you wanted him to come to your house?
No, he wanted.
Was there any kind of a deal or something like so that he was not convicted or anything like that?
There was no deal at all. There was no. Our main idea was actually to rehabilitate anybody, everybody and everyone, whether leaders or otherwise. That's what the president wanted at that time, to rehabilitate all. That's with that idea only we started rehabilitating all the LTT cadres, and that including, around close to 13,000 LTTs surrendered. And at that time, we had, I think, about 5,000 detainees who were not detained only this period, throughout, from many period. So then, even at the end of 2014, I think except 274 people, all the others, the surrendees as well as people who were in detention at various places, we rehabilitated and we reintegrated with the society. We did that.
That's more than 12,000.
All the 13,000, I think 13,800 some people who surrendered, all of them, and the people who were in detention at Busa and various places, except I think 274 at that time, at the end of 2014, all the others we rehabilitated and reintegrated with the society, and they are with the society today.
But there were many in the prisons without any charges, even during that time.
No, those are the people I said detainees who were in Busa and various other places.
Sure.
The people who were convicted, they were, of course, we couldn't do anything on them. They were in the prisons. But the people who were on detention.
Some pictures emerged of people being killed, pictures and all that, and the government, President Rajapaksa's government said those pictures were fake. They were fake.
The
Foreign Minister, Mr. Mangal Samaraveer, in fact, had said that they were true to be authentic.
No, the thing is this: if they are authentic, what they can do is that you can identify the people. No, then in fact we gave when these pictures came out, we wanted the military to see whether they could identify these people. It's not a difficult thing, but there is nobody could identify anybody out of that. They showed the pictures of people of the military people.
So you mean the government could identify the soldiers who were?
No. Even if present foreign minister thinks those are correct pictures, then first thing they must do is to try to identify who are these people. Then from there you can start it.
You spoke about UNICEF finding out about the disappearances and what parents had said. The Paranagama Commission, which was set up during President Rajapaksa's time, even by their record, a number of complaints of allegedly enforced disappearances were attributed to the armed forces. So, were you aware of, did you hear of any possible enforced disappearances?
You see that, you have to understand, sometimes it's so difficult unless you understand the existing ground situation, you can't come out with this thing of disappearances, because it is not like in, sometimes you think that, say for example, low intensity insurgency, where what happens is you go to a village and you surround the village, you capture people. That's what happened in Vietnam and all these places. You capture people, or in the JVP time, you capture people and bring them, and people get disappear. But here, there was no case of going and surrounding a village and capturing people, because the military never were able to penetrate on that forward defensive line. You have to fight and go inside. So in that case, there is no way of capturing people and then disappearing, because they fight and they withdrew. The military was fighting and moving forward. And there is no way that till the end you capture anybody from the from these people and make them disappear. So that's the thing, that's what most of the people who are saying this, where they have mixed it up. They don't understand what was on the ground.
But the allegation is like Prabhakaran's younger son and that Tamil news reader, Isipriya, they were surrendered, and then after that they were killed after surrendering to military.
See, at the latter stages, there were not only the military, there were so many media people, and all those people were there, and also the normal people were there. Still, nobody has given direct evidence of seeing and doing anybody doing this. So all hearsay, or people who had come out with these things, especially from the LTT dashboard. Otherwise, nobody has come out and given any evidence seeing these things happening.
There was photographic evidence, Mr. Rajapaksa, of like Prabhakaran's youngest son. There were shots of him when he had been taken over. I think fed. There was a shot of him eating biscuits or chocolate or whatever within a tent. Isapriya also, there were shots of her alive. In that sense, there was some sort of photographic evidence. And then the next thing is that either their body is either riddled with bullet holes is seen. So yes, as you said, there were people, but during that immediate stage, as soon as the war ended, it was pretty heavily locked down. Media couldn't get in, other than people who were on embeds. So
no, there were enough media people.
Taken with your battalions and your troops, not
no.
Who were gone independently to the war.
No, from all the media, we gave access to all the media.
Yes, as long as they were embedded with particular army groups, right? I don't think you were allowed to drive into the war zone. Correct me if I'm wrong, I'm also asking colleagues.
No, they were allowed.
They were with commanders.
They were allowed. They were moving. Of course, they will not go in front.
With embeds, right? With particular
but in that situation, you can't go independently. No, it's not possible for them to go.
That's right. So they were in a controlled environment, and they were also being managed by
not a controlled environment. They were moving with the troops. See, they were moving with the troops because there is no way they could go in front.
No, of course.
So
in that sense, there were pictures of Prabhakarans, I think, younger son and stuff like that in the next phase.
I don't know. But the way that they are talking, it's like getting around so many people and killing 40,000. We're killing it not one or two, no, it's 40,000, 100,000. So how can you kill 100,000, 40,000 without anybody? There are so many people, civilians were there. Why can't these civilians then come out with... because you see that there are so many sort of lanes to come out for the civilians. Some came through the lagoon, some came through the sea. So all of them, when they come out, now say for example, all the people who were brought from the Navy to Pulmude, and nobody controlled them. They just came out, and first thing they went into the hospital established by the Indian Army Hospital. So we were so open that anybody could, if there were doubts about it, they are the first people who came out. And we allowed immediately, when the Doctors Without Borders, when they wanted, we gave permission for them to go there and establish these hospitals and treat these people. Because we didn't want to cover it, there is no thing to cover. So then these are the people who could get first-hand information if there were things like that. And obviously doctors must have asked these things from the people, no? The Doctors Without Borders, the Indian Army Hospital. All these people first went to them. They are the people who documented them. And then only they were released. So these are things that, where the government didn't try to cover up also anything. We were open.
Are you ruling out any isolated incidents?
No, I'm not ruling out any isolated incidents because I can't do that. Like ruling out any isolated incidents. So, any isolated incident, in fact, from the very beginning, we have given instructions to the military, investigate and see whether they could identify any that type of cases and, do the normal procedure.
So you are not against any investigation for such isolated incidents of
I see that is where the issue comes. Now the allegation is for the whole military. So they want to investigate the whole military. That is wrong. That is why we were, because if you see what is happening now, say for example, recently I read Charlie Gallagher General was not giving visa to Australia, saying war crime allegation or something. That is the trial, without any facts or inquiry or anything. You just punishing everybody in the military.
Isn't it because of your previous government, your government's attitude that you didn't want to investigate even for those individual cases? If you all have initiated such investigations, this pressure
No,
wouldn't have been there, isn't it?
No, we have initiated. That is wrong, saying that we have not initiated. Who initiates these things? Where does it start? From the military. So we have given clear instructions to the military. It's not that we have said no, don't do any investigation. See, especially the Australian government can't say that because we work very closely, and I don't know why they are saying that. Now the military was working with the Australian government, and even they gave us 2 ships to the Navy. We were working with them, and I don't know suddenly how they came out with this decision. So what I'm saying is, it's not right to punish the whole military for any isolated. You have to consider the amount of things they have, humanitarian things that they have done for these people. And even that she was talking about the photographic evidence, but there are so many photographic evidence how the military treated the civilians. You see but that is not taken for consideration. So that is very unfair. The amount of work they did to safeguard these civilians and to treat these civilians when they come out of this zone, and even in the welfare camps, the way the welfare camps were established. So, see, there are so many things that which very unfortunately blamed the government. Now, we wanted to establish very good welfare camps, and that we did with the initial 2 camps. Then some of the Western countries and even for the UN came out this thing saying that the government wants to keep these people permanently in welfare camps. And therefore they said, they questioned us, why do you want such good camps with all these facilities? So they came out this, idea that we are going to keep these people permanently and in these camps and not to resettle them. So then after that, they didn't allow us to establish that type of camps. Then they put up temporary tents, and then the monsoon came and they were in bad shape. So the blame came to us against the government. And I'll tell you, very good this thing. The latter stages, there was this gentleman, I can't remember his name, World Food Program director here. Suddenly he was transferred to Japan, and he was doing a very good job. He's, I think, from Bangladesh. Then the day he was leaving, he came to me and said, Secretary, you don't have to worry. I have stockpiled enough food in that area. I think he said for about 1 year so, that even Mullatiu, Kilinochi and all these places. So he said, don't worry about food. Then I asked, why are you going? He said that my headquarters had transferred me to Japan for a more important assignment. So I said, they are blaming us for all these things, and they say that in Japan there is more important assignment. This is not tsunami. Prior to that, more important assignment. You can check this with them. So now they are coming and blaming. That in the reports you see they are blaming of not sending enough food. But how can you say that when the World Food Program director was transferred, saying that more important mission for him in Japan? These are facts. You can check with these people. So you could see, and I had, every month we had this CCH, that Consultative Committee on Humanitarian Assistance. In that meeting, all the NGO, heads of all the NGO branches, different branches, heads were there. And the ambassadors of co-chairs, that's the ambassador of US, Japan, US, UK, Japan and UE. All these ambassadors were present. And from the government side, all the secretaries involved, all these people were present. But if you take the CCHA meeting minutes, nowhere they talked about a scarcity of food or medicine. They talked about not enough, tin sheets, the takara sheets, not enough cement, not enough fuel, control of this aluminium utensils. Those are the things were discussed. And even I can remember, even they were discussing of having more, Montessori schools. So if they were discussing those things, do you think that there were acute shortage of food and medicine? So, but these things were not considered when they made these reports, because they didn't want to go into these details on these issues.
Why do you think they did it?
It's from the very beginning, unfortunately, Western countries were against this, to ending this whole. There are more reasons for that. Mostly the political. Politically, they have all these countries depend on the Tamil diaspora. So I think the major reason is that. Then there, say for example, if you take Canada, UK, and most of the European countries, and the major reason is that, I think that's their influence on these governments.
Were there calls from any country to stop the war?
Not calls. If you can remember, the foreign minister of France that time, Kushner, no? And the foreign minister of UK, they visited, and they wanted, in the sense, that stop the war. But what, going back into this history, now even 2005, when President Mahinda Rajapaksa was elected, his first thing, at that time, the peace talks were stalled. No, there was no peace talks. That he wanted to restart, and he did that. And 3 times we went to Geneva for talks. But it's the normal way that LTT didn't want all the time. LTT wanted this peace talks, ceasefires and all that for them to regroup, reorganize and get the advantage out of that. That's their normal way they were doing that from the very beginning of Thimphu talks up to the last talks. So we said, okay, genuinely if they want to talk, he was ready for that. But if it is at the very beginning, so if they don't want, and when it was going on only, they started attacks on the military. So then even when he visited India, he was very clear. He said, if they are genuine, if they genuinely want, I will start. I want to start negotiations and do it. But if they are not doing it this time, if they are not genuine, I will start the military way of doing this. So there are only 2 options. No, either you talk or you go to a you can't do halfway, While when you do halfway, you don't. That's what happened. That's why it was going on for 30 odd years, because you talk, then you start again, then you talk, then you start again. Every time, whatever the military gains, you are losing when you are talking, and ceasefires. And the disadvantage is with the military. So this time we didn't want to do that. If we are very clear on our objective at this time, and if okay, you start genuinely start talking. If not, we will start the military campaign, and that when you start, no stop till then.
So what was your response to France and UK when the foreign ministers asked you to stop the war?
They met me, then I said, no, we can't, because it is no use, because we have gone through this many times, and you come back to the, all these sacrifices, then you come back to the same place. You can't do that. And we have started this, so we will go through that.
So they agreed?
Not they agreed, they didn't agree, but that's what our answer was that.
No option.
So Rajapaksa, what changed? What was different? You said for 30 years it dragged on because of this halfway. It was talks, and then back to military. The military was as a result disadvantaged.
I can show one thing. It's this thing, but what I can say is number one is the leadership, and the second thing is the very clear objective. There was no ambiguity in that. Very clear, and. From the very beginning.
What was the objective? What was the identified objective?
To end this, the completely finished LTT. And because of that, we were able to convince the people that, this time there is no end. So that is why we were able to recruit people. That's the main, and the major thing from the military, whatever says, it's the strength that we increased the military. I think army was increased from 100,000 to about 220,000. The Air Force was increased from, I think, 35,000 to 55,000. Navy was increased from 45 to 75,000. The police was increased by 75,000. This time we had people, you see that, if you can remember, when we cleared the east, Prabhakaran said, this is just a tactical withdrawal. He said, number of times the military captured the east. But who cares? That's only a tactical withdrawal. But we will come back. True, that was the earlier what they did. But this time we ensured that they could not come back, because we cleared, we held the ground. Actually, I took this from IPKF. IPKF did exactly that. When they cleared, they had somebody with a weapon everywhere. So the LTT could not come. The terrorists, the major thing is what the terrorists do is their major weapon is the mobility. They fight, they inflict maximum casualties on you, then at the time you withdraw and then come round and hit you. So this time we had enough troops, either from the police. Now see, when we captured the east, we withdrew all the army. We took all the army and gave it to the northern campaign. We used police, Navy, Air Force. Even Air Force and Navy were inside the jungle bases. They were the people holding that. So they could not come back. And similarly, when we were moving forward, we had enough troops to hold on to the ground that we have cleared. So for that we needed troops. And no time there was a possibility for military to counter from 4 directions. We had one going from Manasai, one going from center, one going from Mullatiu, and also from the north. And at the same time, we were holding strongly the Jaffna Peninsula. So for all that, I think we have raised nearly 76 battalions, new battalions, during this period. See, in fact, once we cleared the east during the Security Council, I told President that if we want to win this war, we have to increase the military, otherwise we can't do this. So he agreed, and he gave permission, and he said the finance secretary to give that money, because it's money, it's not easy. It's not just like recruiting a person. You have to create new battalions. When you create new battalions, you need all the weapons. Then when you have, not only the normal weapons, you have to give the support weapons. All this logistics, it costs money. It needs money. So, but unfortunately, most of the previous leaders did not take this decision. I don't know why. So there may be various reasons. Some may have thought, okay, you increase the military, then there is a risk of military taking over. Probably they was thinking like that. And maybe some thinking, okay, we increase the military, what are we going to do after the war? So before winning the war, they were thinking of maybe those things.
Isn't that question there now? I mean, isn't that question relevant now? The military, especially in the north, what to do with the extra military?
No, actually, it's not. That you could see when we use a lot of military to other purposes, for development purposes. That's where you can use that. And it is not the wrong thing, because I can remember I went to Poland for a defense exhibition. Then I met the defense the commander. Then I knew there were contingent of Polish military in Afghanistan. So I asked him what duties they do in Afghanistan. He said, we don't carry even a weapon. We repair culverts, we build roads. So that, that different, all these armies, even in Afghanistan, in Iraq, they used for development purpose. And because in the army, you have engineering units, you have different kinds of skills. That even in the army, you have units of civil engineers who build your barracks. Then you have field engineers who clear the road, who make the roads for the military to move forward. So those things are there in a normal army. So you can use them in peacetime missions. And the other thing, there are nearly, I think, 10,000 to 20,000 people retiring for a year from the military. So you stop recruiting, then normal attrition, you allow the army to, come to whatever the numbers you want during the peacetime. So that's a very easy thing. So but first thing is to finish the war. So that's what we thought. We were committed to do that. So President Rajapaksa took that decision, increase the military. Otherwise, it's the same army, same navy, same air force, same commanders, same skills and all those training levels. And I know the commandos, the special forces, they were in a very high standard. Now, especially sometimes I call these commando officers and I ask them, what happened? Why, with all these skills and training and all that, why couldn't you do this? Then what they said is that when we were given an objective, we go and capture that. But after capturing, there is no link. Then we are isolated. Then they surround us and attack us. Then they get all the casualties. So that you can't in isolation, go into deep targets and take the deep target unless you are able to link with that target. So this time we had that enough troops for that linkage and as well as to hold the ground.
You spoke of lack of clarity in relation to what happened during the end stages. So are you for the government establishing a judicial mechanism as they had promised at the UN Human Rights Council?
No, what I am saying, use the existing system. Why do you want to establish new one? Why in the military there is a system to investigate and do the. Then in our civil system we have civil courts and the civil system. We don't want to use extra.
When there is a lack of trust in the military and the civil judicial system, especially one community saying rightly or wrongly saying that they cannot expect justice from a system that is dominated by a different, the division is such in the country. So how would you?
I don't believe in that different than if you if you think like that, then there won't be a reconciliation at all. See, what is reconciliation? Is to bring these people. That why I think that all these things are not for the people, but the request of the politicians. They want to be in power, and they want to, these things are put to the people by the politicians. It's not the requirement. There are enough requirements of normal people, but these are the requirements of the politicians. They are the people. Now, how can you punish, all these things and get all these inquiries and go into these things and create new, don't have the confidence of the existing system, bring foreign judges and investigators and all that, and at the same time to talk about bringing these two communities together. So trying to do these things only bring people apart. Then what about, now at the same time, what about the people who were killed, innocent people? Now, when the LTT comes and attacks the central bank, you think any of those people were involved in any type of war? They are complete innocent people. People killed in Kabithigolab. And so many incidents like those, not one. During these 30 years, so many people were killed, innocent people. So now if you try to, I have seen to myself when I was a young officer in Trincomalee and various places where they have massacred whole villages. So if you try to investigate all that, talk about all those incidents, why then only these 2 weeks? What about then all of 30 years? Then can you bring these two communities together? So that is what is happening now. When the Tamil diaspora and all these politicians talk about this, then the Sinhalese start talking about all these past things, that the killings of priests, killings of massacring of all these people in these border villages, the horrible stories of all that, that you talk about all that. Then can you bring these two communities together?
Mr. Rajapaksa, when we speak of ordinary citizens, what they want, you said these are demands more from the politicians. But how would you respond to civilians' petitions saying, we saw our brother in this army camp last, he's missing?
That is the whole thing.
So, sorry, may I complete?
Yeah, I know.
No. And some of them are even saying that when disappearances are interrogated, even JVP disappearances should be interrogated. Ordinary people aren't saying that they want a ethnically divisive project or anything. They are saying all disappearances right from the beginning. So what sort of mechanism can do that?
I don't think any mechanism. Then the JVP time is now gone past long time now. Now, see, the issue is when a parent, I have tried to explain to this even for the parents. Now, when somebody says that I saw your son in that camp or this, then they believe on that. So that is the whole problem, and they think. Now, they have not seen their children, then they join the LTT, right, by the voluntarily or by force. Now, when they join the LTT, they fight. Now, at the end, nobody knows, their parents, or if it has children, the parents, then if the husband, the wife and others, they don't know, they don't have any idea of what had happened to these people, right? They don't know whether they were killed in action or they were living, or whether they surrendered or they were captured. So they want to know, because they know that, okay, my son went to join the LTT and went for fight to the war. But now the war ended, they don't know whether they died in action or whether they are captured or whether they are surrendered or whether they are in a camp. So they always want to know whether they are there. So that is why they come out and say, give our, we want to see our children. And we created a database. In fact, for everybody, we gave access to the detention camps, to the camps. We told them, go and see whether anybody is there. We created a database, and that we gave the access to this database in one camp. See, we did all these things. So, but it's for a parent to imagine that, son is no longer living. It's difficult. So it is with the whether it is with LTT or with the military soldiers, is the same. I have come across many parents who believe that we know that that officer or that person was killed in action, but the parents don't believe unless they see the body. They think that LTT has captured them, they are living in prison and various things. So that's the human nature.
So what should be done?
No, I mean, what after war? What can we do? I mean, that's you have to. What I'm saying is, going back and harping on these things will never bring communities together. That will widen the gap.
But the families need answers. Some say that they personally handed over people to the army at certain points.
That is the wrong thing. No one says like that.
They say,
There are many people on the ground.
They say after war, they saw these people being taken by bus, right?
There are some who even say they physically handed them over to military officers, Mr.
No.
Rajapaksa. Not
See,
one isolated case, but multiple.
no,
families.
that is what I'm saying. That is why I'm saying, knowing that situation, can you believe there was such a calm environment, atmosphere, so somebody to go and give hand over the son? Have you seen how they were coming? Have you seen what was the the ground situation at that time? So these are the things that it's very nice after some times to say, I took my son and handed over to the military. Was that situation there? No. That was a full chaotic situation. Number of lanes coming. From the lagoon it's coming. From the sea they were coming. So do you think, in even the little clips you have, go and see on that situation, can you imagine somebody to peacefully bringing somebody and handing over to the military?
After the war, no, Mr. Rajapaksa, they are saying after 2009 May.
No.
Surrendered people who were surrendered to the police, surrendered to the military after the war ended.
After the chaotic situation.
No, that after the chaotic situation, all the peoples were registered and all those documents are there.
and the announcements were made that even if a person is involved with LTT in some way, even for one day, turn yourselves over. So the parents say that having heard that announcement, we took to the army. And
That's wrong. It was never the case.
Are people not speaking the truth then?
Definitely. If somebody says that, it is not the truth. The best thing is, take the UNICEF report. That's the best thing. Without any influence of government, without even knowing, immediately they did that report. But in that report, no one talks about that. That is an independent report. Even we didn't know that they were preparing. Now, at the end only, after they prepared only, they handed over the report to the government. That is immediately after the war. So at that time, nobody talks about that. And they distributed leaflets to everybody to fill these things, the forms. And they filled it and gave it to UNICEF. But now various people comes out with all these stories. Why after that? After a long time.
Because there was surveillance.
Now even when get a murder inquiry or something, a lot of people have seen, but nobody tells anything unless a reporter or a policeman goes and questions.
Yeah, this is a good opportunity. This is the UNICEF did with the volunteers. They went to these people, they gave these applications, and they fill these applications. And that's a good, they know that it was not a policeman, it's not a government somebody, it's not the military. That's the good place to give independent view of that. And they filled all these vacancies.
So UNICEF investigated everybody, not just the children. They covered the adults as well.
They were looking for the children, but they covered everybody. When you give the application, they filled and gave the application for everybody. But after only all these things come up with various figures.
After the war ended, and it has been now revealed in court that the military intelligence were involved in attacking journalists, monitoring them, and even abducting them. So, what was your response?
No, I don't agree with that. This is a baseless and politically motivated allegations. Now, unfortunately, the commander himself tells all these things. And he tells them, with anger and without any basis, make all these allegations. And it's very unfortunate to say that. And also to say the commander, I didn't know what was these people doing. You can't accept that. No, if he was the commander, he should know especially what the intelligence people were doing. And this was the commander who claimed that it is only he who won the war. And now when things come out, then at various times, first he started with I did everything. I mean, he did everything. Then when white flags incident comes, he said, no, I don't know, that somebody else gave orders for that. So at various times, you delegate things. And now he comes and say military intelligence. How can you say military intelligence is not under him? I mean, it's a joke.
But even if it's under him, these people have been accused, and there are some evidence also in court saying that military intelligence, either
no, that is the thing. But I'm saying, even during when these things were reported, we wanted to investigate. We wanted to know who was doing these things. Then but at the same time, we must understand CID or any other investigation organized with the national intelligence or CID. At that time, their priorities are different. No, their priorities are different. Even the CID and all these organizations were looking for the infiltrated LTT cadres, suicide cadres, their safe houses and all that thing. So you can't expect during that time to go behind, and even if they find on these times, if they come to a intelligence, say if they come at all to a lead to intelligence, I mean that during the war, you can imagine they will not go behind all that. But even after that, after the elections, Sarath Fonseca contested from the other side. But we did not want to. We wanted the police, the CID and intelligence agencies to do a independent inquiry and come out with real culprits. We also could have easily, when present Prime Minister Sir Ranil Wickremesinghe in Parliament said Sarath Fonseca is responsible for all this killing. Joseph Michael Pereira, a present minister in the Parliament, when he claimed that Sarath Fonseca is responsible for these things. With all that, we never wanted to take a political advantage and influence, or we didn't say anything. We said, allow the CID to do a investigation and come out with. We could have easily said at that time, this Sarath Fonseca is responsible. What unfairness is in that is, now today, he is a cabinet minister. He is a powerful person in the government. Now, when he goes public and says these things, now you are pushing these investigating officers to, to prove that what he says is correct. It's not independent inquiry. Because these officers are, they are under the government. When the government powerful minister comes and says these things, can they do a impartial inquiry? It's so difficult. That's why they are taking such a long time. That it's not easy. Now, though they have arrested, you can't say that they have arrested because they have proof. So on suspicion, they take various people. That doesn't mean they have done that. So it's not easy once it is, to come out, to find out all these things after a lapse of time.
But even during the 2010 and 14 period, there was no proper inquiry on any of these?
No, we had inquiry. The problem is the problem is like now. They don't have down. They have certain things, but those are the things that we have found at that time. That is all that they have. And on that they come out with various thinking from the CID officers, and they arrest various people and try, to come out with whether they could come out with something.
So even at that stage, the military intelligence
you were
suspecting them that they were involved.
The people who have been arrested are military intelligence people. So that doesn't mean that they did this on various things that they have arrested these people. But I don't know whether they are the correct people or not.
No, what was your thinking? I mean, what's your thoughts on that? All these journalist attacks?
We tried very hard. I don't want to blame anybody. Like what Sarath Fonseca did. I don't want to blame anyone without knowing the correct facts, the truth. You can't blame. I can say Sarath Fonseca did then all that, but it's not right to say that.
General Fonseca has said that there was a separate unit to attack journalists. Were you aware of such a unit?
There was no unit like that. That's what I'm saying. If he had known that, right, separate unit under whom? And whose unit? Consist of whom? Even a single soldier, army commander is responsible, because army is not that you just give people to various people and allow them to do like that. Even somebody comes now, for example, at that time I had the army security. My security was selected by Sarath Fonseca. He is the person who selected the officers, he is the person who selected the men, and he sent, and even my officers were reporting to not him directly, but his unit, his seniors, and they get instruction from them. So because they are the people, military people, even one soldier going from A to B, you go in, there is a system. You give a movement order, you move out with that movement order, in that movement order says, you go and report to this officer, your duties are this. That's how it happens in the military. You don't just send people to here and there. And army should know each and every person where they were at a particular time. They know that.
And nothing could have happened without your knowledge at the top, no? Such a squad or anything.
No, I mean...
No, could any order have been passed, any crucial order have been passed ever without your knowledge?
I mean, a lot of things happen without my knowledge. I can't command each and everything what I do is a policy decisions. What I do is on a higher level, strategic level, where my involvement is whether first thing is advising the president whether we should go for a war or not. And if it is the war, my duty is to advise what to do, when it is to win, what do we need, the expansion of the military and all those things, I do. Those are strategical level. I don't go to a tactical level things. That's not my duty. I am not a person who goes to the tactical level things. Those are at various level. You do at the tactical level.
Sir, it is stated that India was on the same page with Sri Lankan government during the last months of the war for the defeat of FTT. But later the relations drifted, particularly over the issue with China, Harbour, and then devolution and reconciliation issues with Tamil groups. So can you explain through this process, through this following years, what happened?
The Indian?
Yeah.
No, we had a very good relationship with India. Now, I assume that it's good book choices by Shankar Menon. There's one chapter on Sri Lanka, and it gives a very fair description of the whole thing. And he ends that chapter saying, whoever who says what, destroying LTT is a good thing. And also I must tell you that, I don't know whether you have read that, he says Karunanidhi and who is Jayalalita, both were happy that the LTT was destroyed. Whatever they said in public, privately, that they had agreed on this. And we had a very good relationship with the, especially with Mr. Narayan, who was the National Security Advisor, and Mr. Vijay Singh, who was the Defense Secretary, and Shankar Menon, who was the Foreign Secretary. We had a good team. And we met regularly, especially Mr. Lalit Veeratunga, myself, and Mr. Basil Rajapaksa. We formed this thing called Troika, and we visited India, and sometimes they came to Sri Lanka, and we discussed in this. We were in a, I could anytime take my phone and speak to him, and any one of them, they many times had spoken to him over the phone. And so we had this very close relationship, and we shared even the details of the operations and what we are going to do and everything. And that is how I think we won their confidence. And they wanted, I think, India wanted to end this whole, thing, because they have experience. I mean, they know what had happened in 86, 87, IPKF and all that. And ultimately, the LTT killing Rajiv Gandhi and all that things. But unfortunately, especially after the Congress government lost and the present government came into power, it was not much of period, I think about a 3 months period that we had. But I met Mr. Ajit Dwal, National Security Advisor, and he came here once, and I met him again. And yes, they had this issue of China, Chinese involvement in Sri Lanka, but very correctly, even in this Mr. Shankar Menon's book has mentioned that we assured them that there will be no military presence or involvement of Chinese military involvement in Sri Lanka, and that we will not allow anybody to use Sri Lankan soil to do anything against India, so that they don't have to worry about security of India. This is, we told them that this is purely development and economy, and not military. So that we gave that assurance, and in that book also he says very clearly that we sort of adhere to that, and they were happy on that. But when this government came, I think they completely misunderstood this issue, and so probably that's why they worked against. They wanted to change the Rajapaksa government.
But the Congress government was, okay with the way you are dealing with China, or you are dealing
Yes,
with
read that book. It's very clear. And I don't know about the politicians. I have never met. When I go on official visit, I meet the defense minister, but they don't discuss that. But whenever I discuss these issues with later National Security Advisor was Shankar, with him, and earlier with, so they were very happy. That's why in his book he says that he believed us and we kept our word.
But that was in 2009 May when the war ended. Between 2009 and 2014.
No, he says up to 2014, in that book he very clearly said the Sri Lankan government, I can't remember the words that they have used, till when he left. Actually that was in I think 2014 September, the government. He was referring to up to that, about this China issue.
There may be opportunities for jobs in the private sector or something. What do you say to people who now say, okay, I have the law, let me 10 years of
Yes. In fact, we started a training camp in where this is in Kalawel, for a vocational training camp for the soldiers, especially who wants to leave the army, to be trained in some vocational, whether as an electrician or whatever, mason or carpenter. We have a training school at Kalawel. That's the idea, to train them, and when they go back to the civilian life, they can find a job. These are the lower ranks. And
but even from management side, there is a lot of demand now.
Yes.
But people are get to leave, right? Without, people are finding.
No, there are so many, I think, in this private sector who have joined the officers.
Like retired now, right?
Yes.
But can we politics of very early times?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Would you object to that?
No. Anybody who wants to leave, actually now, after the war, we allowed, if they have the opportunity to go out and join the private sector or go abroad or whatever.
Mr. Rajapaksa, you spoke about the allegations against the military as a whole. I want to ask you about the cases that have personally been linked with your name, whether the MIG deal, then even in the Raviraj murder case, a state witness has named you and said you had paid Karuna to execute the murder. This is the
those are baseless allegations. I have nothing to do with that. And you mentioned MIG one. It's a very clear case of where the whole procedure has adopted. I don't know how it's a politically motivated allegation. If you go into detail, I was just a member of the tender board committee, cabinet appointed tender. I was not even the chairman of that. Chairman was a different person. And this whole thing has started not during my period, even before that, during Mr. Marapana's time. The same company has given the similar type of proposal to the Air Force at that time. But Mr. Marapana did not act on that because they were looking for different aircraft or some reason. Then Donald Pereira, who was the commander, wrote to me when I came back again that the requirement of, because by that time all the kafirs were grounded, all the MiGs were grounded, so if they needed attack aircraft or something like MiG, but they are the people who, the Air Force is the one who said there is a requirement. As a policy we agreed, yes, there is a requirement, you can look for one and purchase. They are the people who selected these aircraft. They are the people who evaluated them. And then there was a cabinet appointed negotiating committee for prices. So all these things were done. But now nobody shows all these things. They just make allegations against the Air Force and me, or whatever.
So what is your take on the white flag incident? Did they really come with a white flag and finally shot there?
See, this is in that, I don't know how they got this impression that somebody asked to raise white flags. I don't think anybody will shoot if somebody really comes out with the white flag. I don't know who gave instructions to come out with white flags. No, we never gave instructions. Obviously, people, they must have thought that when somebody shows that white flag, that at the same time, you have to understand again, this is why you have to think, being a person who is in the battlefield, what is his mind frame? People were firing, even for the people who try to come to this side, they are firing on these conditions, on a chaotic situation, all these things happen. But when you describe, people describe like in a calm, very normal environment, somebody coming and shooting, it's very difficult. I mean, not only Sri Lankan situation, even in anywhere in the war front, those things doesn't happen the way that it's very nicely, calm and quiet way.
Do you feel dejected when you feel like you were kind of a war hero and now you are daily facing kind of investigation, going for courts? I mean, how do you feel?
No, in a way, it's a sort of, I take it as a human being, you have to go through all that ups and downs and all that. And what I see is, but I meet a lot of people, they appreciate what I have done, so many people. At the same time, you have people who are criticizing on various issues, mainly on political grounds. So that's life. You have to take it up.
People want you to be a presidential candidate in 2020 and now actively campaigning for that. What's your...
No, I have not yet decided actually. Truth is not, I have not decided.
Are you open to the idea? Are you open to the idea?
No, the thing is this. My family is a political family actually. My father's brother is the person who really came to politics in 1935. So since then, somebody from my family was doing politics from 1935. 1935 to 1945, that is my father's brother. I have not seen him. He was in the state council and he died in the state council. And then people wanted my father to come. So he came uncontested. In fact, he always tells that he didn't like to do politics, but people wanted him to come. So he was there from 1945 to 1965, to 20 years. So in the meantime, my uncle's two sons, George Rajapaksa and Lakshman Rajapaksa, came into politics, and they were there. And then Mahinda Rajapaksa came into politics, and then Basil Rajapaksa came into politics, Chamal Rajapaksa came into politics. Then third generation Nirupama Rajapaksa and Namal Rajapaksa came into politics. So my whole family is as a with a political background. But I joined from the school. I joined the army, so I was always away from all this politics. So then, after leaving the army, I served 21 years in the army, and I left and then went to US, and then I came back as the Secretary of Defense. So I have never involved in politics. So I am not a politician. So I don't know this politics. That's
Do you think
that I
it's been in
have.
your blood since 1935? But it's been in your family since 1935.
So you doesn't want to come to politics?
No, I don't know whether by coming into politics whether I make a good politician, because Mahinda always tells that I don't understand politics. He says you don't understand politics.
So what's your view? What's your view? Do you think that you'll be a good politician, or you
No.
don't want to be a politician?
No, I don't want to be a politician, but what I say when they ask, but if I can do something for the country, I will do that. That I have that capability. I have proven that, whether it's in the war or even otherwise, the urban development, it's a completely new thing, but I did it in where nobody had done. So I have that capability. So I can use,
So
if somebody wants to use me, but I must agree with his policies. So if somebody is there, some leader is there with the policies of what I want, then I will help him. That's the best way I can put, I think.
So even if that means coming into politics and serving the people, can you?
No, you don't have to come to politics. I don't know. Donald Trump came into politics from this. We have to see whether he will do good, to be a good politician or not.
Are you going to make him your model?
Huh?
Are you going to make him your model?
Yeah, I'm looking at him, studying.
But you're someone who said that he will win far before he even...
Yeah, because I studied the thinking of, because I went to US several times. I met people from Kansas, and not only from various people. When they were talking, I knew there's something going on, and I knew that he will win. This is actually the people there, especially the rural, not that much educated, white Americans were frustrated. They were thinking that they did not get the, due from the society, that it was going out of them. So this anger sort of was there. So I knew that they will vote for a person who come and talks about bringing this back to them.
So do you regret for anything that happened or you did when you were at the Hill?
I don't regret, because we ended the war, which was there for 32 years. We couldn't end, and I was able to take a major role in that. And then after that, in development of this country, I was engaged, and I did a lot of things in that, and I see it successful. So that way I'm happy, and I did that. Now then the government lost, and they had to go. Then I went out, and that's it. I'm happy, but the thing is, if that is not going on a correct direction, only that I'm sorry for that.
Suppose you take the move to get into active politics, do you think you will have the support of the people?
I don't know that. I think
there were also
I don't know. They have
there was also a report of an attempt to co-opt into this government, present government. Do you think there can be matching of any policies Any possibility?
No, nobody asked me. I don't think those are, wild rumors. That's not true.
There is no possibility.
No, it's not true. I mean, nobody approached me or asked me whether I'd like to join in. But there is a overall unhappiness the ground of this government. That's a fact. I mean, each and every level, whether it is the poorest or whether it is the middle class or whether it is the business people or whether it is the professionals. I meet a lot of professionals. But there is, they think that what they expected didn't come out of this government. Whoever who comes, that to have to satisfy these requirements, and that is why it's not somebody joining the government I don't think will help, unless you have to change this whole thing. I mean, for the last 2.5 years, they were going behind Rajapaksas. That's all. That's all. That all that vengeance and anger and going behind us without any solid evidence. I think it's not help anybody.
One advice you would like to give to the present government?
Start working.
So what is your view of the Hambantota deal? Give 80% to Chinese?
See, it's very unfortunate that it happened. Now, 2 years, they just stopped all these things, because they thought, I don't know why, whether they thought that they will get money from the West or whether they will get money from some other place. So they stopped all these investments. And, there was a complete stop on this development process. And now they have got into this mess. And now they are trying to sell and cover this gap. I think if they had done the same arrangement that they had previously, that for around, I think, 750 acres, and developed that on the industrial zone, if they had gone on that previous plan, they wouldn't have come to this issue. But giving this number of land, they can't do that, because that covers even, I think, Ambalantota town. Hambantota, Ambalantota, all these things, you can't relocate these people. It is unrealistic. And the people will obviously protest to give.
And the share distribution 80-20 in the Hambantota port.
Yeah.
They're going to give 80% of the shares to Chinese companies.
Yes.
What is your view on that?
I think it's not a good thing. I mean, it's a very dangerous thing, giving, and that is inviting trouble. I mean, giving. I don't know how. I'm surprised the way that they personally told me how Mr. Ajit Dwal personally, he said, no, you have to stop Port City. You have to stop you have to take it back, the southern terminal, Colombo southern terminal, and you have to stop all this infrastructure using Indian money, the Chinese money. That's what he told me twice. And that's how they looked at us at that time. And I don't know how they will look at this government when they want to give permanently the Hambantota port.
Why are they quiet now?
That's what I mean. That's the I don't know why. I don't know whether they are quiet or whether they are waiting for some other thing.
Sorry, I believe Mr. Rajapaksa has another appointment. Mr. Fernando is.
When there was a submarine, when there was a Chinese submarine, India invited you for a meeting. What was it about? I mean, was it kind of a...
No, actually even at that time, we were permitting war ships to come to Colombo or Galle or harbors from many countries, and especially the war ships on that task force and to fighting this piracy. Most of them, even the Russian ones, used to go from here. So we were allowing them. When this submarine request came, we approved that. That we were, and I don't know, I still think it's not a nuclear submarine. It's a normal submarine. And we approved that. It came like the normal request from Chinese embassy, and defense attaché gave that, and we approved that. And when we gave the approval, we gave for the both. It was going west, and when coming back also they wanted to come back. We approved both trips. And then we explained this to the defense attaché, and we explained this to the High Commission at that time. There's a
Indian High Commission.
Yes, there's a request, and we approved this. So, but unfortunately, I think in India, the media took it in a wrong way. They brought it up and played in this.
So, can I ask one more? Meera, can I take one more?
If you're okay, Mr. Fernando is.
Okay. What is your view on the role of the US? I'm going back a little bit in time. During the war, they did help in certain ways. For instance, the floating armories, they helped to sink those and things like that. So we can assume that they wanted to defeat the LTT. Then there was some ambiguity that towards the end of the war, at the end of the war, they were trying to rescue Prabhakaran and things like that. And then now we have this, you have this revolution coming on us, where they seem to be targeting the military, what is your analysis of the US thinking over this?
UN?
No, the US, United States.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the United States role. What is your analysis of
the... My analysis, actually I saw that when we were first, when I came as the Defense Secretary, the ambassador here was Bob Blake. Now, he came to me and he said, look, we want, once we started this whole, the operations, he came to me and said that we want to show the world that we are behind you. And the first thing he wanted was to come to sign this agreement, that they renewed recently, that cross services. Yes, agreement. Now, he came in. Now, I knew that it was presented to the previous government of Mr. Ranil Wickramasinghe. And I checked that with Mr. Milinda Moragoda. Mr. Milinda Moragoda brought this proposal to Mr. Ranil Wickramasinghe, but he rejected to sign. He didn't want to sign that agreement. Then Bob explained to me that 96 other countries had signed that, and it is no harming signing. Even India had signed that agreement, and obviously it will not help anybody much, And he said, but by signing this, we show that we are behind you. That was the impression that they had. They wanted to help us. So yeah, we signed that. Then, in fact, they assisted us in intelligence. That they are the people who gave us the coordinates for the LTT ships, all these armories. And they really was with us on this issue. Of course, there were here and there were certain things that they come in, and they were in the CCHA and all that were there. But it was very clear that with the change of government in US, that is from after Obama, President Obama coming into power, there's definitely a change in the attitude to these wars, policies, because the main reason Samantha Power, Susan Rice, all these people are more on human rights and on thinking on that line. So the policies change. I think that's the main reason why they change on all these things. And so that Bob Blake went out, and Bhutanese was the next ambassador, and we had a good relationship with her even, and she wanted for us to do certain things. Actually, I can remember, that a lot of people don't talk about, they talk about all these things, but the things that we did to bring democracy into these areas. Now, look at the northern province elections. It's the first time we had that elections. And when we wanted to have these elections, especially Bhutanese told me, look, if we are going to have elections, first disarm the other groups. So then I told this to the president, and presidents also thought that it is right to disarm the other groups, because we had this Karuna, Pillayan, Siddharthan plot, and Douglas Devananda. These people were armed, not during our times. They were armed long time back, because they were against the LTT for protection of them. Now she said, she explained this to her. She said, we think that, and President agreed, and President asked me to disarm all these groups. So when we decided to disarm the groups, in fact, Mr. Siddharthan today is an TN MP. He came to me and he said, look, Mr. Secretary, if you disarm us, I will tell you, I can't support your brother because I can't survive. I will join the TNA. He said, don't disarm. And Mr. Douglas Devananda also told me the same thing. Don't disarm. If you disarm, the TNA will become powerful, and your brother will lose, and we will lose. So, but we thought to have fair elections, we must do that, and we disarmed that then. So these are things that the people don't appreciate. People don't talk about. We could have easily had elections, Northern Province election, with these arms. Then results would have been different. Results would have been, the Douglas Devananda would have been the chief minister. And if that happened, in the elections, all these 600,000 votes went to President Sirisena, would have come to Rajapaksa. That's for sure. And still he would have been the president. But he thought, okay, we should have given fair chance. And we disarmed them and had the elections. And he knew TNA will win. But he thought that, okay, they will win, they will form the government, and they will work with the central government to bring this development and reconciliation and all that. But TNA didn't want to do that. So that's where it's very unfair. But nobody talks about those things. The good things that we did, not only the development, bringing today all these chief minister and all these people are there, because of whom? because President Rajapaksa had elections, fair elections, and allowed them to people to vote and appoint their own thing. We could have done that easily with, like Douglas and all these people having weapons. And sure, but that doesn't mean anything for us. So these are things that, but even that we were working with them. So, but unfortunately, this I blame fully on this State Department officials. People like Samantha Power, Susan Rice, who were, human rights champions. If you read Samantha Power's biography, she is from her even basic degrees on human rights and R2P and all those things. And now I am sure she's retired, she'll write a book about Sri Lanka, how she was successful in changing the government and bringing different government and all that. You wait and see, she will write a book very soon.
That's where it's coming from, this attack on the targeting of...
Yeah, they are the people who wanted to bring the resolution and all that. That if you go into deep, that's the root, I think. That's what happened.
So what do you think will be the US policy in the next couple of years?
This thing is, I'm sure present president is not interested in these things. Like, he said, no, I will look inward, not outward. So our government must be able to use that opportunity where I see our foreign minister doesn't get this opportunity, and easily we could have, done much better in Geneva if he was, intelligent and did the correct thing. I'm sure the US doesn't want to go that path.
Thank you, Mr. Rajapaksa.
Okay, thank you very much.